Welcome back to another episode of the Akashic Musings Podcast and our series on catalyzing your soul's deepest embodiment in the context of relationships. Katie and I may be too childish to discuss the sexuality topic today because we have been discussing it prior to starting and we just can't. We're extremely impressed with ourselves and how funny we are, and we can't stop laughing. So we're gonna start today by doing our healing exercise, our generating life force energy meditation, which Katie's going to guide us through. And today, just as a quick little preview, we're going to be talking about self-pleasure, interrelational pleasure, partner pleasure, source pleasure, universal pleasure, all the pleasures. But for now, I'm going to hand it over to Katie.
All right, let's do this healing part and ground ourselves in here.
Yeah, it's a really good plan.
Yeah. Okay, so you can either be seated or standing. Some people find this meditation really powerful standing, and if you're driving or not able to be present, just kind of take in what you can and see how the energy wants to move in you, because this energy is here for you any point you want. And we're going to use the breath to really move the energy through our bodies. So however it looks best for you, closing your eyes is great unless you're driving, and then don't do that. And go ahead and either seated, standing, laying down even, however you feel most called to, and feel free to move if you kind of get that nudge during this meditation as well. We're just going to take a cleansing deep breath here, feeling our chest expand, opening ourselves up to receive. And deep exhale, slow exhale, releasing it all out. I want you to bring focus to your root chakra, the space in your hips and your pelvis. And because you're sitting here, breathing, you're here present, your life force energy is alive. It's ignited. It's within you now. And at the root, you see this flame like a pilot light. And just bring awareness into how big this flame is for you today at this point in time. Without judgment, notice if it's a slight flicker, if it's wide, if it rises all the way up your body. Just notice without judgment here. Begin to bring awareness into any sensations you feel with this light. If there's a warmness, a coolness, tingling, flow or softness. Really feel into the body here. And this is where we're going to start using our breath to move this flame, to feel this flame, this life force energy within us, knowing that it comes from a space of deep nurturing, immense healing, and foundational safety. You're going to take a nice deep breath in, feeling this flame come up to your sacral, just below your belly button. And hold that and release down. On these exhales, you feel this energy begin to stabilize in your aura. And breathe in, bringing the flame up to your solar plexus, the space right below your rib cage. Hold and exhale, stabilizing this energy in your field. Another nice deep breath in, bringing this flame up to your heart chakra, your heart center. Feeling your shoulders pull back and slow exhale out, stabilizing this into your field. And just pause here and begin to tune back into that flame, into your body, opening up your heart space. And take another nice deep breath in, bringing this breath all the way up into your throat, into your neck, the base of your skull. And a forceful exhale out your mouth, allowing this energy to begin to really surround your entire aura, encapsulating you. And bringing attention back into your sacral and your root, feeling this flame rise with this next breath in. Breathe in, rising all the way up into your third eye, your forehead. And a forceful exhale out your mouth. Pausing here, feeling encapsulated, engulfed in your energy, your own personal energy here. And let's take our biggest, deepest breath all the way from the root, all the way up the torso, holding into the space at the crown of your head. And a slow exhale out, feeling this breath release down every part of your body. Your life force energy is generated from within, reaching out to all the sides of your body, every edge of your aura. No matter what position you're in right now, just slowly start to circle your hips as best you can, really feeling your pelvis circling, bringing in your lower body ever so gently. Feel it swirl and reverse it the other way. Allowing this energy to fill every cell, every crevice, every internal organ. And pause the circling. Place your hands on your heart space. As you place these hands, your hands become these magnets to pull this life force energy directly into your heart, opening up yourself to receive this healing, remembering that you are your own healer, that the relationship with yourself is one of your deepest soul's lesson here. Feel the presence of your hands, feeling that life force energy generating within, getting bigger and bigger. Take a final deep breath here. On the exhale, release your hands down, palms up. And tune back into that body just to see where you feel this life force energy the most right now. Know that your life force is being directed to exactly where it needs to be right now. Take a nice deep breath. And on the exhale, gently blink open your eyes, come back into the space. So make note of where you feel that the most in your body. Know that your own life energy is your own medicine to take in and really be able to, that your energy is what is able to alchemize and shift and make those changes for you.
I love this. Thank you so much. I feel amazing. And it's so affirming because like that life force energy for me is typically in my sacral, but today it's so strongly in my root. And I love it because like I was literally just telling a client before we jumped on this that I just feel so solid, like so anchored and so grounded in myself and just like really holding my center, like really firmly holding my center. And so it's really cool to me to be able to witness that energy having settled into my foundation, which is really
I
cool. Go ahead.
No, I love how it's okay for it to change, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like mine today is deep in my heart, right? I can tell that there's some passionate, right? There's some compassion, there's a lot of love, right? And so it's okay for it to shift and change into how you just said, like you just know that you are rooting into that solidity, like solidity, is that even a
Solidity.
word?
That's the word I used this morning.
Oh, okay, great.
Whether it's a word or not, I used it.
I just used it too. So, right, like that's just where you are in your journey. And for me, I feel like it's more about like opening up to that compassion, just as I do for everybody else, but returning that to me, right? That's where it feels most needed right now in my healing. And that's where we need to remember we are our own healers.
Yeah. And I love this because what you really brought forward today was this like self pleasure in that, like being able to feel self pleasure. Like when we're talking about sexuality, there's such a spectrum, right? From sensuality to sexuality. They're very similar energies, but it doesn't have to be, you know, masturbation or touching yourself, or like it can be that you just feel deep pleasure being in profound levels of meditation or just connection with your own energy and getting more intimately connected to the sensation of your life force. And the sensation of your innate essence and life force is deeply pleasurable and deeply activating.
It really is. And I think if we can start to kind of broaden our perspective of what pleasure means, like when I first heard that in the healing journey, the word even pleasure, I was like, I'm not touching myself, right? Like I clearly had some immense blocks there. And it was because I really only saw pleasure as that sensual part, right? Whereas now I'll have a meal and I'll get great pleasure out of actually enjoying the meal and being really mindful eating whatever it is that I am, whether it's a sweet treat or even just like an indulgent like dinner, right? We can get so much pleasure out of life.
Yeah, it's sensation, right? Like we're opening ourselves up to more sensation and allowing that to be safe. Like I do this when I'll get out of the shower. If I'm feeling like this deep desire to self-pleasure, I will get out of the shower and I will just like mix up any concoction of essential oils and just I'll rub them on different parts of my body and just appreciate. It's like it's loving yourself, but it's loving on yourself in a way that's like feeling in love with you rather than just like, oh, I'm doing this because it's self-care or it's nice or this feels good. It's like I'm so in love with you that I just want to pamper you. I want to shower you with with deep pleasure, right? Um, so yeah, and I love this idea of the movement too, like being okay with the movement. Energy is always moving, people, you know, like you're gonna feel this at different layers. Sometimes your self-pleasure is gonna be a meal, like Katie said, it's gonna be essential oils, like I said, or it's going to be touching yourself or engaging in some kind of sexual activity alone, you know, or in connection with somebody else. Now, I'm gonna bring in here the source piece because sexual energy is the most potent energy we can work with. It's the energy of creation. And it's something that a lot of people shy away from. You know I did big time, especially with the history of sexual trauma. and I know you've shied away from it too, Katie, and it's an unfolding, right? It's an unfolding, it's a process. Everybody's timeline is different. And obviously, working with the nervous system is something that we want to be really present with. And we've talked about that in previous episodes of this series that you can refer back to. I love these little thumbs
Yeah.
that come up. It's so annoying. And I turn them off, but whatever.
Mhm.
Anyway, so what I think is a really great way to start to cultivate this sensation of pleasure and sensuality within your being and allowing this life force energy to expand into a palpable state is to really invite source into your self-pleasuring activities, whether that is masturbation, whether that is touching yourself, whether that is the examples that we just shared, right? It's bringing in like an intention to it, of divine intention, really, and basically saying like, I feel this pleasure and I desire for it to expand, and I desire to anchor it not just in my body but in my divinity, and really allowing source to kind of come in. And some people don't like to use source. Some people like to use guides, like Archangel Michael or Jesus, or Mother Mary, even, anybody that you desire, fine. But it's like allowing that energy to come in and really amplify sensation. That's what we're asking for. We're saying, I am going to intentionally amplify sensation and receive the amplification of my sensation. And that is what growing in sexuality means, is being able to not just receive and expand your sensation, but to intentionally request it.
I love this so much because it feels like when this whole concept kind of started to come into my field where it was like I no longer could avoid it any longer, right? I reached that certain point in my healing that it was like, you have to face this. It felt so ridiculous and almost shameful to put an intention over getting pleasure, right?
Yeah.
And for me, any type of like sexual pleasure was just like, come on, just like, let's get it done, right? And it's such a different way when we can pause, and it's bringing awareness, it's bringing mindfulness, it's bringing divinity in, it's setting that intention is a total game changer because it takes the pressure off,
Mhm.
which avoids like pressure. Just what's the word, it just like stomps on pleasure, right? And so if we can just set the intention of what we want to receive and really let ourselves experience all those sensations, it's like mind numbing, mind blowing,
Mhm.
the pleasures and the sensations that you can reach at those points. Like I think there was part of me that was like, there's no way I could look at self pleasure or intimacy with a partner and have that be some like spiritual act, right?
I mean, let's talk about this. Was just coming up as you were talking about this, because it was like this concept of edging, right?
Mhm.
This concept of edging, that like you can edge yourself just to before orgasm. You can edge yourself to a level of pleasure where you're like, oh my God, I can't even take it anymore. Whether we're talking about sexuality, whether we're talking about sensuality, it's almost like it's those overwhelming tears that you get when you feel like an insane level of love and devotion from somebody else, that you're just like, oh my gosh, like you're opening my knowing of how deeply deserving I am, right? And so
Yeah.
it's like this comes in, and this is why people edge. And I love this practice, because what it is it's really allowing yourself to be with the pleasure, to expand it intentionally, and then to hold it. And know
Yeah.
that you can hold it without releasing, because as you do so, you are expanding your capacity to hold pleasure. And you're anchoring in it. You're anchoring in, and I've got this. I know this sensation, and I desire to bathe in it for as long as possible, because I'm yummy. I am divine. I'm yummy, and I desire to fucking claim it.
I love edging. It's like one of those things that I was like, it's ridiculous. Isn't it all about the orgasm? Like, I want that,
That
right?
used to be me. I was so
Yeah.
attached to the outcome. I was so attached to it. And then I'd be like all frustrated when I couldn't orgasm, and I'd just be like,
Right?
what is,
There,
and now it's,
and there must be something wrong with me, right? Or resentment build towards the other person, right?
yeah, like, how dare you not get me off?
Right.
Hello?
But I also found that I was attaching the outcome, right? And then expecting that the other person was responsible for that. And I avoided self-pleasure all the fucking time. because I was like, no, that's too shameful. I can't do that. Like, I'm not responsible for that. You're responsible for that. Right. And it was like such a different shift. Like, I don't
I
know if I even have the words to
yeah.
describe
No,
it.
I'm obsessed with what you just brought in around responsibility because yes, it
Yeah.
is. It's responsibility for
Yeah.
claiming, which I didn't do for most of my life, right? Because again, sexual trauma, lots of sexual trauma. And it was like claiming responsibility for that. I didn't trust myself, right? I didn't trust myself in that. And so it's when you own, like, imagine yourself having sex with with a partner and being able to stop yourself and be like, nope, I'm doing it this way. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like being able to take control of your pleasure or being able to, if you prefer this role, saying to your partner, you need to do this to me. This is what I
Right.
want. Right.
Using your voice.
Or I'm fully receiving and surrendering entirely into trust and allowing you to activate me in whatever way you desire to activate me. And I
Yeah.
get to just go ahead.
And as just going off of that, you get to decide that every way that that person is touching you, or that even if it's self-pleasure and you're touching yourself, that that is activating you, that that is pleasurable, right? Like decide not for the longest time, I was like, no, it needs to be right there. No, 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 right? And I was starting to use my voice, but instead it was like, what if I just relaxed into it and enjoyed every like full surrender and enjoyed every sensual touch?
So obsessed because this is like releasing the attachment to outcome thing, right?
Totally.
And something that I've been working with lately too is like this, when we go to orgasm, it's automatic that the body starts to tense,
Yep.
right? So, and it is like the biggest mind fuck because it feels like I'm going against everything that my body knows and has learned. But
Yep.
it's like as I peak, I lean back and relax intentionally. And I'm just like, okay, like I'm gonna like intentionally melt
Mm-hmm.
into the reception of this. And sometimes we'll even call source in, right? Source energy in and lean back and just melt into like, I'm going to allow this energy, which is not mine, belongs to source. I'm going to allow this energy to move and activate me in whatever way. It's fucking wild. And
Well, and I find that when I melt like that, and yeah, like you said, go against what my body has like been programmed to do, because that's what I think it is, right? When I melt, I find I ride those waves of pleasure way longer.
oh yeah,
Like,
way
and I
longer.
think that's way longer. And I think that's where self-pleasure and me exploring me and my body, but then also edging has totally changed the game for me.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like you get to ride those peaks and those valleys and just like you reach that peak on almost at orgasm, and then when you lean back, right, you rest, you relax, you call in source energy, like there's a pause there.
There is. And this is true for anything you guys are creating, right? Like
Yes.
this is how you use sexual energy to create in your life. You could talk about birthing a new project, right? Where you have
Mhm.
like all of this momentum and all of this desire and all of this passion and all of these pieces that are coming together and you're like, oh, I'm ready to birth it into the world. And then there's like a hold,
Mhm.
pause, absorb, honor, revere what you are holding right now, what is being birthed through you, what you are capable of, right? Like wild to use this in the creation of whatever.
Well, right. And that's what makes the sexual healing energy so much more potent, because we forget, I think we often forget that it is creative energy.
Mhm.
Right? I think a lot of creativity lately, I
Yeah.
mean, for years, it's been all up in here, all up in the head, right? And it's like, but if we can bring it from the root and bring it up and allow it to generate from that place. And then for you, right? Most of the time it's in your sacral. Today it's in your root. What creation are you going to come out with today? Mine was in my heart. Like using to see where it is in your body, where that life force energy is. If it's starting at that root, it's coming from that solid nurturing foundation, right? And then being able to say, well, where is it moving in my body? What is it that wants to come forward, right? And using that energy to create, I think has a bigger impact.
It does, and it allows you the sensation of what co-creation really feels like.
Yeah.
Because you're pulling
Mhm.
up from the body through the root at the same time that you can pull down from above,
Yeah.
from source.
Mhm.
Allow those to meet in the heart, which is probably what you're feeling today, Katie, you know,
Yep.
allowing those to meet in the heart, which is that meeting point of that earthly 3D and astral energy, and bringing it together to birth something, to share something, to serve in some way. And I think that this is really important to bring into context of relationship, because when we're in sexual exchange with our partners, there's two really big shifts for me that have been really, really expansive. One of them is and this was extremely hard for me to do because it felt really selfish, but it was make your sexual experience, no matter who you're with, about you. Don't make it about the other person, because for so many, it's about, I need to make sure I pleasure my partner. I want to make sure my partner feels pleasure. What if you go in with the sole intention of, this is my time. This is me time to expand my pleasure, to become closer to source, to activate more of this in my body, to hold more, right? In exchange, in sacred space with this other person. And so you're bringing that in. And what if when you actualize that to its max, the other person's pleasure is exponential? I can't even tell you. I can't even tell you how effective it is, because you're no longer focused. There's no, like you said, pressure earlier. There's no pressure. There's no like conscious focus. All it is I am showing up as all of me to become more of me. And I'm going to expand into this space between us. And I'm inviting you to do the same. I want you to set the same intention for your own pleasure. And as we both claim that responsibility we're talking about, that pressure's gone and the energy gets to have its own vortex between us. And holy crap, that's
Yeah.
where the spiritual expansion happens. And the pleasure in the 3D is bigger and more relaxed and more extended. And the second thing, which is on the heels of this and very similar, is really calling source into both of our bodies, almost like we're both hollow bones. And my partner is then activating me with source energy. I'm in a reception of source energy, and I am activating my partner with source energy, and they are receiving my source energy. Well, the one that's coming through me, right?
Right. Right.
It filtered through the codes of me, and that source energy is filtered through the codes of them. And so that has also been really helpful, because I think it allows you to detach from this outcome piece of like, I want to make sure you orgasm. I want to make sure I orgasm. Instead, it's just like, I don't give a fuck what happens, because the alchemy that's happening in this space, I'm like, sign me up.
Yeah. That's the ripple. Like that's the one of the biggest things that I have found to be how our soul embodies the transformation,
Yes.
right? Like everything that you just said, like that energy right there, inviting source in, getting more intentional, just focusing on you. That was another mind-blowing thing. I was like, wait, if I just focus on me, they're actually going to be able to focus on them, and together, wait a minute, right? Like together it'll produce magic, because I think we're shamed and we're told that focusing on ourselves is not important. But that devotion back to ourselves and inviting in source energy and allowing that to be, I always picture it, not always, I picture it two ways, like infinity, like
Mm.
especially when I'm with a partner, because all of this can be applied to self-pleasure too. I like want to just bring that forward too. If you don't have a partner or you're not able to be with them all the time, like there's still, you can bring all of these same energies in with self-pleasure. But I see this energy often as either the infinity sign, the figure 8, and just like down at the root and up at the crown, but between both partners, right? Both sides of it. Or it's just like this oval, right? And it's like this connection point of, you know, like kissing and, you know, coming together with actual intercourse. Like it just, there's this, I'm making a circular, I don't know how to explain it.
I feel like it's a circulation. For me, this is how it feels when I'm in this space, whether I'm alone or not. And there's sometimes I just want to be alone. There's
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, I actually really want to get off, or I really want to experience deep pleasure. And yes, I have a partner available to me, but I don't desire that. And like that's fine. In fact, it's nourishing for
It's
yourself.
very, yeah, it's
But
very
what I
nurturing.
will witness is like it's this recycling energy. And each
Yes.
time that I recycle it, it becomes stronger. So it's like the root through the crown to the root through the crown through the root through the crown through the root through the crown. It's like this constant like filter and replenishing energy. And as that momentum builds with that energy in this oval shape, in through the root, in through the crown, in through the root, out through the crown, like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? That momentum alone is energetic sex. Like you
Yes.
can call that in. You can have energetic sex with the other person's permission if you do that, or just by yourself, by using energy, by heating up your hands and placing them, hovering them above your erogenous zones, like holding them there, feeling the heat, allowing the pulsing to develop in the body. Like you can generate energy yourself. And it's a brilliant practice.
Yes. I love how you said it's like recycling energy. That's exactly how I feel it too. And it's like one of the as you were talking, it's like, were we talking about this in last episode where it's not necessarily about releasing and actually like letting go and removing layers of us? It's about being able to see and shift that perspective and bring it back in. It's that type of recycling energy that when it's, yeah, self-pleasure or with a partner, that recycling energy, it's like any parts of me I get to bring back in, right? And it
Yeah,
gets,
yeah.
it just amplifies it tenfold. And it's something that totally never thought would happen. Never knew
Same.
there was this side of it, you know?
Yeah, and it's a remembrance and a reintegration.
Yeah.
It's an invitation into wholeness. Yeah, it's really sealing
Yeah.
of like your essence at the
Mhm.
same time that it's expanding. Um, because you're bringing yourself into cohesion. And the only other thing I want to say about this is just bringing in this gender piece with this, right? Because the energy that's coming in, the new earth energy, and the energy that's already been here for a little while is this androgynous energy. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what gender you identify with. It doesn't matter what gender your partner is. Like there's this very palpable energy that's been coming into the planet that is creating intimacy between people, whether it's an intimate partner or not, from a completely androgynous perspective, even feeling androgynous within yourself, right? Because as we identify more and more with the divine is genderless, right? The
Mhm.
divine is genderless. And so, and that quote unquote divide, as some people may see it, or spectrum even, does not exist in divine dimensions. And so it's being able to enjoy the pleasure of all different layers of gendered energy within your own field and in exchange with others sexually. And there is a freedom in that is very, very expansive for us to just start planting seeds for and allowing to grow and stepping into, where we don't have to have attachment to anything, whether it's a sexual partner, whether it's our outcome of sexual pleasure, whether it's our own sensation, etc.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's such a great point because it's at that point you're looking at everything as energy, period.
Yes.
Mhm.
And everything as divine.
Yeah. Right.
Not
And everything is an activation and just right like that invitation into expansion, no matter what it looks like, that's releasing the outcome of what it's supposed to look like. But it doesn't matter. It's the healing energy behind it.
It is. And the fact is, like, when we place that energy into a box with a kind of name or label, we are limiting its effectiveness. We are
Right.
funneling it. I don't want to funnel shit when it comes from source. I want to be a totally open vessel. Granted, it's going to take my whole fucking lifetime to be at the place where I want to be at that level of open. Like all of us are, right? It's a freaking
Yeah.
unfolding process. But still, I'm just like, dude, if I want to surrender, like I'm meant to surrender everything, dude, and not in a passive way, like we talked about in a previous episode, in an active surrender way, so that I'm still taking intentional action and responsibility for my course, etc. But yeah, it's really, really empowering and emboldening. You will stand so much taller when you play with this energy, friends.
And I think for me, it's always like the reflection after, where I feel I am able to anchor it and really like take it and mold it, and not mold it, but like it feels malleable until I take that reflection and then can feel it in my body and just see it in a whole new way. And for me, it's been a ton of reprogramming, right? So, you know, something will happen and I'll feel a whole bunch of fucking shame around it. And so for me, that reflection and that like being able to like actually accept and receive the healing that took place, like I need time after, I need space for myself after to be able to actually take in the healing that was just offered to me. Because we can take, because I think what happened, at least what I was doing in the beginning of this type of journey, was like I was experiencing it and then I was like, nope, next thing, right? It's like taking time to actually integrate that and embody it. And that is how I feel like I'm answering my soul's deepest calling, right? Because I'm taking it in, I'm taking all of these experiences, and whether they're sexual or not, and saying, oh, wait a minute, what does that feel like in my body? What is it that I really liked about that? How can I use my voice, right? Like it's all of those pieces that start to come together. And to me, it always feels like malleable, like Play-Doh almost, until I can like solidify it into my body.
I love this so much because you're talking about a few things here. Like one of the things you're talking about is like self-sovereignty and listening to the body, you know, and allowing the body to guide you. Absolutely. And as that body sensation comes up, being able to ask, okay, is this a trauma activation, like a response? We've talked about this in previous episodes, or is this truly like an expansive sensation that's coming up? You know, you want to lean into the expansion, even if there's a little fear involved in it, because if you know you're safe, you can stretch beyond your comfort zone a little bit, right? And the other piece that I really love that you brought in was the shame piece. Shame is enormous. I don't care who you are on this planet. Shame is deeply ingrained in our culture, in many cultures, around open sexuality, around being open with your sexuality and sensuality and pleasure, and choosing pleasure and choosing to enhance and actualize and steep in your pleasure. Okay. And then the third thing that you said that I absolutely love is the malleability piece. Because what does that tell you? When it feels malleable, you are directing it rather than it directing you. And I think that's a huge fucking piece for people to receive. So thank you for bringing that forward, because I know that was for me, like when I was talking about the self-trust earlier, right? Like sometimes that energy comes in like such a strong whoosh, and it's just like, oh, fuck. All right, what do I do with this? Right. And it's like, it feels like it's guiding you and you don't have a choice. You have to do, but it's like, nah. This is still any divine energy, any energy that comes into your field, you get to direct. So that is brilliant, because it also shows you how comfortable you are with working with this energy, that you can say, yeah, it's malleable. I can form this however the fuck I want. And that's I am the creator energy. Yes. I love that. On that note, I think we're done.
So freaking good.
All right, dudes. Take a screenshot of this sucker, share it to your stories, tag us at Emerge Healing and Wellness or the Katie E. White on Instagram, and please reach out. Especially, I mean, this topic can be super tender for a lot of people. Katie and I are both very comfortable discussing this kind of stuff, and have obviously been through our own journeys with it and expansion with it, and many different layers and levels that we've been with it. So feel free to reach out and ask either of us questions. Check out the link for our retreat in the show notes, because we are going to be having a sexuality module during our time together. And it's going to be really powerful and really intimate in a way that allows you to feel held as you explore this within your own field in a very safe, tethered, contained way. And I can't wait.
It's going to be so good.
All right, friends, we will see you next week for our 7th episode of this series. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will talk to you soon. Bye for now.